and welcome back, and happy almost spring. I cannot wait for the weather to be warm because I literally, personally hate the cold. You, Dana?
I am ready. I'm ready for St. Patrick's Day first, though. Corned beef and cabbage. 2 days from now.
See, that didn't even cross my mind, but spring is coming. So, hi, I'm Shelly Haymaker, and I am the director of the Hamilton County Gal CASA program here in your lovely county. And joining me today for the Gal for Kids show is Dana Larbus. She is an attorney here in the Noblesville area, and then she's also an attorney through the program, and she helps with the program to represent those of you from the community who come out and get trained and volunteer for what we do. And before I forget, I want to thank our sponsors today, Mr. Wofford, Jim Wofford, Logan Street Signs and Banners, and Noblesville Trophies, because they are kind enough to help us get on the air every month so that we can bring information to you and try to get you educated on what we do here in the county through this program. This training, though, today is solely going to concentrate on the, did I say training or program? What did I say?
You said training,
This
but we are talking about
today.
training.
Yeah, we're concentrating on the upcoming training that we have. So if you ever had a thought that you want to volunteer for this program or you want to find out what we do, learn more about it, we have training coming up. So let's start with when it is. And up on your screen, it shows, and yes, it's several nights, but I've been doing this training now since 2001. I used to do, through these training sessions, I used to do an all-day Saturday or 2 all-day Saturdays, and everybody complained about all-day Saturdays or even half-day Saturdays. So this is why we have it several nights through the week. You will see on the training schedule that's up in front of you that training is going to begin Wednesday, April 27th. That'll be our first night of training. It goes through all of those dates and we will end on May 11th. The training is not pick a date and come. It is a cumulative training, which means that we are talking about new and exciting and important things every single night of training. We start at around 5:30, but we understand some people are a little bit late because they may not get off in time, so sometimes it takes them with traffic. We have a lot of people that kind of come and go, but for the most part, we try to start at 5:30 so that we can be done by 9. The training hours are because the state of Indiana has a state office of the Gal CASA program that oversees all of our county offices, and by law we have to do so many hours of training for new people from the community that are coming in. So that's why the training is so many hours. So what we want to talk about, at least through this first segment, is what we are going to do through each night of training so that you have an idea of what all you will be learning when you come through the training. So on the very first night of training, I always do the first night and I always do the last night, except for I think one time in all these years I've been doing training, I think I missed the last night because I had to be out of state for court in a different case. But the very first night is just basically for you to come in, for you to introduce yourselves, for me to introduce myself, for you to learn a little bit more about what our program does and how it operates in the county level and at the state level and at the national level. We will talk about, we will go through a packet with you because you have to do a lot of homework. I give you a lot of homework. You have an application that you will have to fill out. You have to submit to a criminal background check. You have to submit to a Department of Child Services background check. These are things that are not optional. And you have to fill all this information out and get that back to me over the course of the training. So we go through all of that the very first night of training, and then we go through we begin the chapter work because National CASA, there's a program out there that oversees in all of the states, not just here in Indiana, but oversees all the programs, and they have provided part of our training material. So we start with chapter work that night, and we start with chapter 1 just to kind of get started with the work. So that's kind of how we begin. We go from there, and various attorneys like Dana, and we have another attorney, Trina Parker, that helps in the program with training. We have another attorney, Addie Wood, that represents you all that go through the training, just like Dana. And each night, different nights, they will come in and train you and go through various chapter work. And Dana, I know that you have a couple of chapters that you do, so just tell them what your chapters kind of go through, just to give them an idea.
First, one of the things I have to teach is about how CHINs came to be. In other words, how did children in need of court intervention become a program? And it starts off with the history, which generally amazes most of the trainees, not realizing, and I won't give you all the secrets, but there were more rights for animals than there were for children. And that's usually an interesting discussion topic for probably the first 40 minutes of a course that I teach. And there is a sense of passion that develops that night with the trainees wanting to know, wow, I can't believe that's how it started, and now we really do have an important role, and it carries on from not that many years ago. I mean, the history for our type of program isn't all that old.
No. And our program here in Hamilton County began just in 1998. So when
Well,
you look at that, it's
I
not
learned
that
something
old
today.
here in the county as well.
Right.
So
And once we get past some more history and introduction information, one of the other chapters I teach, and it's my favorite because I'm a wannabe teacher, I love dry erase boards, but it's actually going through the process of the life of a case that a guardian litem works on. Shelly teaches, if I recall correctly, some of the basics of how the court system's set up and how that works, but I get into how our case specifically works, the beginning of how a child comes into the system, and then when the gal or guardian litem is assigned, and how we interplay with the Department of Child Services along with the court system and various other resources, and then how a matter progresses into often what we call reunification, reuniting families, helping them become whole again so they don't have to deal with guardian litems or the Department of Child Services and the courts. And then some of the other options that may come into play where the guardian litems and the trainees that are sitting there will find are critical to the case's progress.
and the whole goal, I mean, we start out with the goal in every case that we are involved in. We're hoping that if a child is removed from their home, then we really hope that that child can go back home. That's where children want to be for the most part. That's what they know. That's what they're happy with. They don't sometimes even know that there are things going on around them to be unhappy about. So they don't realize that their safety is an issue at times. They don't realize that their parents are doing drugs. Some of them do, some of them don't. So when we get a case, I mean, our first thought is we really want to see if possible for this child to go back home. So that's the reunification part. What comes into play, though, through, I think, throughout the course of the case, when the parents are expected to do something to change the behavior that got them into the system in the first place, they have to work at that. That has to be a choice that the parents have to make. And so they have to decide, I need help, and I'm being offered help, and I'm going to use that help so that I can get my child back into my care. And like Dana said, everybody, you know, the guardian litem can leave and the caseworker can leave and all of that. But it takes a lot of effort on the parents' part once all of us are involved.
And if I may, that's the concept behind the training. We not only give you a background history of you expressed an interest, you want to work with children, and here's what our program has to offer. We also use the training to walk you through the steps of the history, the process, the tools that are involved that you're going to be working with, and how you fit into the whole scheme of things in this child's life. So we encourage people, we're glad they're happy to be interested in children, but we want them to realize it's more than just being there and talking to children. There is a definite methodology where you become a critical spoke on the wheel that goes around for these children's lives in the case.
And that is something that people don't understand when they hear about the program and they show up the first night of training. A lot of people, it hasn't hit them how important this work is that we do. It is in a court system. It's in a court of law, a judge is listening to you speak and to you advocate for this child. You are instrumental in paying attention to the child and knowing what's going on and knowing if the parents are doing what they're supposed to be doing. You're working alongside with the Department of Child Services. That doesn't necessarily mean you are agreeing at every step of the way with the department may have a certain way that they have to do things, and the guardian ad litems can come along and recommend something completely different for this child. But your voice and the work that you do is so important that people are amazed that this is a volunteer position and that anybody can do it. You don't have to have a law license. You don't have to have a teaching license. You don't have to have a whatever that degree would be, psychology license, social work license. You don't have to have any of that. You have to have a heart for children. You have to have commitment, because we ask, if you take a case, that you stay on that case from the beginning of that case to the very end, whether that case is open for 3 months or whether that case is open for 2 years. We ask that you are that advocate the entire time. Because unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is throughout the life of the case, there may be different caseworkers from the Department of Child Services. There may be different counselors that are dealing with the child or the family throughout the life of the case. It's nice for the child to have one advocate, one person that the child knows that they know they're going to see each month and that they know is advocating for them particularly.
And that continuity is critical. You hit an important element that we routinely in training emphasize over and over again. Not only are the individuals working in the case changing, often these children have to change home environments. They've left their initial starting point, be it with their grandparents, be it with their biological parents, whatever their family consisted of, and the court steps in and suddenly their place may be in a foster home, or then from that foster home, because someone moves, they have to go into a relative placement. I mean, there are a lot of things changing, so if we, through our training, can emphasize one thing besides the actual procedure is your commitment to the child, to be there throughout the entire life. I think that's the most important.
Well, and it's not just important for the continuity for the child to be able to see you on a regular basis and to know that you are their advocate, but when you're sitting in a courtroom and a lot of the other players have changed over the course of the case, you know what happened at the beginning of the case when other people in the courtroom may not. And sometimes you're there and you can remind the court and everybody else in the courtroom, through your attorney, of course, in a kind way, through your attorney, but you can remind them, no, that's not how that happened at the beginning, because you were there. And so that's another reason why we kind of really, really seek people who are committed to this long term. Even if it's your only case you ever take, if you saw it from the beginning to the end, we would be thrilled. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk more about the training process and what it is that we do in training and why, and what kind of cases that we're training you for, so that you can understand when you go out there what you're looking at. And we will be back.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Gal for Kids show, and hopefully you are here because you are wanting to find out more about what it is that we do and how you can maybe become involved from your community. And if you say, that doesn't sound like something I could do, but my neighbor that would be great for them, then we ask for you to pass this information along to anybody that you think might be interested. And I know I have a lot of people that contact me at my office, and they want to know, what does this entail? What does this kind of work do? And since we've been doing the show, I have been referring them to go to YouTube and to enter my name, Shelly Haymaker, and it will bring up all of our past shows that we have done, and you can sit there and watch till your heart's delight, and you can find out all the kind of stuff that we do. We've had a show where we talk to somebody that runs her own business and works full-time. We've had a show with a gentleman that helps me with the juvenile delinquency cases. We've had a show with a couple that actually do this work together. So there's all kinds of information that's out there that we have already put out for the community, so you can go watch if you want to.
And that's great because it shows you anybody can do this job that has a passion for it. You can figure it in. It's flexible, although
That's
it's time consuming. You can work full time. We all do,
Yeah.
and do this on the side. So it's a very good thing to contribute to that won't disrupt your normal routine necessarily.
It'll disrupt it, but
A
that's
little
okay, because in the long run, what you're doing is helping a child. And if you come to training, we bring in a variety of people who already do this work, so that they can come in. I call it the round table. So they can come in and talk to you about what it is that once we train you and we send you forth to go do your good work, they can come and give you some more information on what that entails. But they can also tell you that, the long run benefit of knowing that you have been instrumental in a case of making sure that this child got either back home and the family is reunited and things are going really well, or if the family couldn't pull it together and the child had to be placed over in another home and possibly adopted, you get to see all of that, and you kind of see where the benefit is. It's much more than I think you realize once you start doing this kind of work. So
I would agree.
all right, but this program today is all about the training that we have coming up. I know that Mr. Wofford has put our training schedule up throughout the session of the show. You can always contact my office at 776-0480. You can always email me at attyshell@att.net, and we can send you, just let me know that you're interested and that you want a copy of the schedule sent to you directly. If you need me to do that, we are more than happy. We keep a list all the time of people who send us emails and are interested in training. We keep a list so that when we do have the training spots available, then we send that out to you.
Do you have a question from the audience?
Question from the audience.
Where is the training at?
Good question.
Good question. Typically, and hopefully, because that reminds me that I have to ask the quartermaster at the Sheriff's Department if we
We're
can
coming
use
up on it.
the room, and I forgot to do that, so I need to make a note to do that. But typically, our training that we do is out at the Sheriff's Complex out off of Cumberland Road. It's not in the main area where the main offices are in the jail, but it's behind the main area. There's a kind of a, I don't want to say a barn, but it's a big shed type looking building in the very back where they do car maintenance, and they have a workout facility there, but they also have training rooms back there. And they've been kind enough to let us come in for the last several years now and use that training facility. And they even had to displace us the last time, and they let us come into the main part of the sheriff's office. So we had a very
We had the
luxurious
luxury,
place
skylight.
to train.
It was wonderful.
But that's where we train. It'll be out at the sheriff's complex off of Cumberland Road, across from the Noblesville High School. So,
Well,
thank you from the audience.
Yeah, and to add to that question, they also have a few field trips during the training. They're
That's
here in
true.
town,
That's
which they'll
true.
enjoy.
Yeah.
They will get to go to the juvenile center, which is right along that same area of Cumberland.
Yes.
They're getting an opportunity to go to the courthouse itself, which is always an exciting night. And where else do they go? Is there someplace else?
I think that's the only
Those
field
are the
trip
two
that we
field-
do.
We have people coming in too, though, right?
But we have people that come in, right? So the first field trip, or one of the field trips, is to the Juvenile Detention Center, and you will actually get a tour of the Juvenile Detention Center, so you can see where the kids that are insecure are housed. You can see where the kids that are in shelter care, they're the non-secure, where they are housed. We will do training there that night when we talk to a probation officer and one of the juvenile prosecutors. They will come in and train you on juvenile delinquency matters. Another field trip is we go to the actual judicial center, the courthouse is how we know it, and we go up to the courtroom where Magistrate Reitz holds court, and Magistrate Reitz is the specific magistrate that hears almost all of the child in need of services cases or the juvenile delinquency cases. So he is the person that you would be familiar with. He's the person that if you have a case and it's set for court, he's the judge that day over your case. So we go meet with him so that he can walk you through things that he has seen over the years, things he's liked about the guardian ad litems and their work, things that he's been disappointed with sometimes, so that we can learn. I mean, we want to know. We don't want people to be disappointed in the program and then not say anything. So it's very helpful that we have judges who will speak up and let us know this wasn't a very good idea or this worked out really well. So he does that. And then during training, we also have that comes in various people from the Department of Child Services. They will come in and train you that night on what is a child in need of services and how does their operation work and how do we work with them. We try very hard to work alongside them. In this county, we have a very good relationship with our Department of Child Services. Like I said earlier, we don't always agree.
No, but it's a team effort,
Right.
and it brings in, like you said, the judge talks about things he likes and would like to continue on in his court, and he'll also give you insight of things that haven't worked so successfully. But what's nice is, just like with DCS, he sees the teamwork, and he gets two separate perspectives, can't speak today, which may or may not align, but he knows who all the players are.
Right. So that's important. In the work that we do, it's very important that you understand that you are dealing with various agencies here in our community. You're dealing with various caseworkers that deal with our community. You're dealing with various service providers. And by service providers, I mean counselors, doctors, people who come in and provide transportation services, people who provide supervised visitation services. You're dealing with a multitude of people, depending on what kind of case you get. And it's important that you treat everybody with kindness and respect and understand that you may decide you don't want to do this kind of work anymore and you leave us. Well, we're still here. I've been the director since 2001. So we still have to stay here and we still have to work alongside the Department of Child Services and all these various service providers. So it's important that our reputation stay being that we try to work together. We're not constantly at odds with each other. We're not battling. We battle when we need to,
that's
but we
our
do
job.
it right. It's our job, and we do it in a way where we go in and we say, "Hey, you think this way, we think this way. Let's go. Just have a hearing and let the judge decide, so we can be done and we know which way we're going to go." That's the easiest way to deal
Right.
with it.
And don't let this sound overwhelming that all these people are coming in. That's part of the reason in the training we introduce one another. We introduce ourselves, we introduce you to the judge, and likewise the judge will introduce himself to you, DCS. So we're just trying to give you a snippet to let you know our roles and also see how interesting the training
You
can
think
be.
I'm overwhelming them already?
Oh.
That now they don't want
Well,
to
here are all
come
these
to training.
service providers, but there, in addition to service providers, there's everyday people you deal with that it shouldn't the overwhelming
Teachers, right?
teachers, yeah,
Teachers.
teachers, doctors, nurses,
Babysitters, daycare providers,
parents, grandparents. So I mean, you're dealing with all
Neighbors.
walks of life.
neighbors, that
Neighbors,
see
yes.
everything that goes on in your house. You know.
So it's real stuff too. Don't let us throw you off. The training, again, gives you a glimpse of everything, and I think it's a nice layout. It gives you a little bit of a window in each thing, plus gives you the background and fantastic resources to pull from when you get your first case.
That's true. We send you away with a multitude of paperwork. I've had many complaints that we've killed many trees over the years with all the paperwork that we send you with. But
We reuse them.
we like for you to have these at your fingertips. So let's say that we need help with a juvenile delinquency case. You can go to your training manual and you can go to the juvenile delinquency section and you can read back through that. Because we've covered it. We're not going to read everything to you as we go through training. We touch on important points as we go, and we give various stories about some of the cases that we've had to deal with and how we've had to deal with them. But we're not going to read all of the training materials to you, of course, because then the training would be like half a year instead of just the 3 weeks that it is. But you have them for your use. So when you have a juvenile delinquency case, you go read that section again and you review it and you get familiar with it. When you have to go do an interview, and let's say you're nervous, it's your first interview and you're not quite sure what you want to ask, you go to that section in your training manual and you just review it and get some things fresh back in your mind. Write some notes down, make
Samples.
a list.
There are
Yes.
samples
We have
and
samples
guides
of
in there.
interview questions and samples of how to do to talk to people and what kinds of questions to look for. When you do a child in need of services cases, we have all kinds of information in there for you. So what's important is not that we go through every single piece that we give you, but that we give you all of this information so that when you need it, it's there and ready. To go through training, I do have to tell you, you have to at least be 21 years of age. I have had people come through training that are younger than that, but you have to understand if you go through the training and you're not 21 yet, that you cannot take a case. Can you help with things in the office? Can you help with some of the other duties that we have going on behind the scenes? Yes, but until you're 21, you can't take your own case, if that makes sense. And as I said before, you have to submit to criminal background checks and the Department of Child Services background checks. That doesn't mean that if you've been in legal trouble in the past, that you absolutely cannot do this job. What we are looking for is if you've been in legal trouble in the past that has harmed or compromised the safety of a child, then yeah, this probably isn't the best program for you to get involved in. There are other places that you can volunteer for, but because this is a child advocacy program, those kinds of things can be a hindrance if you have that in your background. But I've had people call me up and say, I got a ticket for passing a bus that I was
a little different.
And I'm like, on the edge, were kids on that bus? Were any of the kids harmed? But no. I've had people that have had issues with alcohol in their past, and it's been a long time. And that has not hindered them from several years later being able to come forward and advocate for a child, so long as the charges weren't including harm to a child at the time. So just keep that in mind. I don't want you to think, well, I have a criminal background and so therefore that eliminates me completely. It does not. And then you have to do the training, and you have to do each night. There are times if you absolutely, I can come to every single night, Shelly, but one night I cannot be there. Is there something that we can do to work around that? Yes. If you have to miss too many nights, however, then no, you need to wait and do the next training, which we do these about twice a year right now.
I see, we've had a
We-
few
we've
people that
been-
started and came back and finished up
Right.
and did the training a second time.
Right, but it's not an option as to picking which nights you want to come to, because we build on every single night and you meet different people every single night. So I think with that, we've given you a pretty good idea, at least what we're looking for, when the dates are, what kinds of things we will be doing at our training. We are always looking for volunteers from our community to come in and help. We have, that reminds me, because that's what I wanted to share with you, to let you know why we need so many volunteers. So For 2015, or no, I guess for right now, this current time, I guess this is what Robin gave me. We are advocating for 139 kids right now, and they make up 91 cases. So there are a lot of sibling groups, all right? But we have 23 kids right now that are on a wait list. They don't have an advocate. They make up 12 cases. So 12 different cases are sitting here waiting for people from the community to come in and get trained and to take a case. So I'm going to leave you with that so that you understand that that's what we're looking for. So until May, April, no? I guess we're in
April,
March.
May.
April. I won't see you in April. Dana will be back, and joining her will be Miss Addie Wood, and I don't know even what they're going to talk about yet.
We don't yet either. It'll be a surprise.
This is left to be seen. I will be in Florida on a band trip with 2 of my kids, so I will not see you back here until May, but they will see you in April. Have a great month.